Sad news this week, though. Ananda Lewis died. I'm just, man, I mean, I know the older you get, you start to lose people. I've learned that. Because I was thinking the other day, like, the last 10 years, I've lost, you think of people that pass away in your life. So I've lost all my grandparents. I lost my brother Dallas, my good friend Devin, Thomas Howard, my good friend Randy. It's just a lot of friends. And then isn't it crazy? Like when you get older, you start looking on Facebook and guys and girls you went to high school with start passing away. You're just like, oh man, you just want to take better care of yourself. And I think Chappelle, when he hosted Saturday Night Live, he lost, was it someone on A Tribe Called Quest? And he realized, he goes, man, I'm at that age where, people that I came up with in my teens and my 20s, you just start losing people. And he goes, so it's important to be there for people when they're alive and not just show up at funerals. I've learned that over time. I try to be there for people that are here. Because it's funny, when a funeral happens, we stop what we're doing and we pay our respects and we make it such a priority. But we got to start making a priority when people are alive to be there, whether it's a wedding or, Christmas party, birthday, anything that you get invited to within, reason and people reaching out to you. Obviously, you can't make everything, but because it's important. It's important to show up for people. But when I found out Ananda Lewis died, I'd start to rush back. Like, I haven't seen or spoke to her in probably 15 years, but she was one of those people when I first got to LA and was trying to make it. I ran into her early in my career. Like, literally the first year when I moved to LA, she was one of the people I ran into. And, I was like, whoa, Ananda Lewis. And then I just remember we went, I don't want to act like we were super close or anything like that. We was cool. We were just cool. She was an acquaintance. We was cool. But I just remember the one night I went out with her and a couple other friends, and we ended up like at Jerry's Deli. Yeah, I think it was Jerry's Deli in the Valley. In the Valley. The one in the Valley. The one with the bowling alley attached to it. We ended up there late one night, just BSing. And I remember we was talking, and she was like, we had the complete opposite lives, but at the same time. Like, she grew up in San Diego, then she went to college in DC. And then she got in the entertainment business after college. And I was like, well, it's funny. I grew up in Ohio, but my first duty station was DC. And then I moved to San Diego. So it was like, I gotta say San Diego. So it was like, we crisscrossed. I was in DC and she was like San Diego. And then when she got to DC, I was leaving to go to San Diego. It was like, we were like, dang, we were there for like 6 months at the same time. But it really was funny how we just went, whoop. I said, damn, I probably passed you in the sky. But she was always very cool, very cordial. And I remember that night we went out at Jerry's Deli that night. It was like, I was like, whoa. She was prettier in person. Some people, you see them and they're not as attractive as they are now it's on social media. Back then it was just TV and movies. You see some people in person, you're like, they don't look the same. No, she was just as pretty. She was just as pretty in person and cool. Just cool. That's the interesting thing about Ananda, though. She was in the entertainment business, and then she just wasn't addicted to the fame. There's some people, like, once they get a little bit of fame and you got people like basically catering to you. That's what makes being famous addicting, is so many people cater to you. And I don't think she ever got caught up in that. She was always like, it's cool, I'm enjoying it, but when it's time to get out, I'm getting out. I'm just going to do my own thing. And this is how she lived her life. Like, she was like not, if she posted anything, it was just she wanted to post. It wasn't like, how many views am I going to get? Am I going to, is this thing that's going to go viral? I just think she just was living her life. But yeah, just a quick story. Like, yeah, always cool though. Always just cool. So when you start losing people, especially 52 years old, you're like, some people might think that's old, but anybody in my age demographic is like, that's not old. That's right around the corner. So, yeah. So any of her friends or colleagues thinking about you guys, and yeah, it's funny. All this stuff just comes rushing back when things like that happen, And it was funny because then I started thinking of when she passed away, I started thinking about what Chappelle said when he's like, he did SNL because I guess A Tribe Called Quest was, I think they had an album dropping, or somebody in the group had an album dropping, and he knew if he went on, they could perform. And I don't know if it was either, I think Dave booked, and he said, I'll book, but let my guys be the musical act that week. And very selfless thing to do. But I was thinking of a funny Chappelle story that I've never shared. I don't think I've ever shared this in my life, and I can do it now. Now I can tell it. Absolutely nothing happened, but it's a funny story. So right in the middle of COVID, so this is like September of 2020, Dave started those Yellow Springs outdoor shows, and I got asked to do one of them. So I just happened to be in Cincinnati, so I didn't get the privilege of getting the private jet sent that Dave was doing to people. I don't think Dave was paying people, but he was taking extra good care. He was flying people on private jets. And you're staying in Yellow Springs. It was like a cool little bed and breakfast type hotel. He put people up. And Yellow Springs is an interesting town. It really is, because what I noticed is when we drove there from Cincinnati, when you drive from Cincinnati to Yellow Springs, Ohio, it's about an hour, a little over. You get off the highway, and it's just back roads to Yellow Springs. All you saw, this was 2020, was Trump, 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 Trump. And as soon as you get to Yellow Springs, there was a big Black Lives Matter banner, and it just went Biden, 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 Biden. It went from Republican to Democrat, back to Republican. As soon as you get back out of Yellow Springs on the other side, I was like, I don't know if that was Chappelle or if that was like Yellow Springs in its own bubble, because Yellow Springs is definitely in its own bubble. I used to go there in elementary school. There was a place called Camp Glen Helen, and we always went there. And that's why I was like, when Dave would always talk about Yellow Springs, I always be thinking like, why do I know that name? And I was like, man, 6th grade, that was Camp Glen Helen. That was in Yellow Springs, Ohio. I was like, I kept wondering why I knew that. So anyways, he asked me to come, right? I had a buddy with me, and then I had a girl that I know, white girl, complete platonic friend, great friend. She's attractive. I'm not going to give her name. Don't want to put her out there. Cool as a fan, though. We've been friends for like 10 years. She was in Indy visiting family. She called me out of left field, and we were talking, and I said, where you at right now? And she's, I'm in Indy. I go, shut up. I said, I'm in Cincinnati. I'm going to do Chappelle's thing on Monday. I said, come down, go with us. She was like, all right. So she shows up in like these red bottom heels and these jeans, and I go, we're going to be in a field. I said, why you got red bottoms on? So she went over to, some store, got some tennis shoes, and left her heels in my apartment. And she went with us. And keep in mind, I was married at the time. So I was married to my first wife at the time. So we go and we get there. As soon as we get there, this one dude, and I don't know who he is, the Dave or whatever, he started just hollering at her. He acted like I wasn't even there. And I was like, it was damn near kind of rude. Like he never introduced himself to me, never said hi. He kind of looked at me. They started moving in, and I was like, did he just move in? And I was like, I got no stake in the game, but I'm like, bruh, from the optics looking in, she was with me or the other guy, my buddy. My buddy was a black dude. But you don't even acknowledge me? Like, what's up? I know he knew who I was. And so it's funny because I was like, all right, but I'm there, bullshit with Dave. Dave, we went to that, he's got that little nightclub after party thing, right? So we go to that, we're partying and stuff. And I felt myself getting a little too tipsy. And I was like, we gotta go. We gotta go right now. I was like, I don't want the lasting impression as me being obnoxious or getting so drunk I'm throwing up or anything like that. We gotta go now. So the girl was talking to the dude, and I got behind her and said, we gotta go now, right now. And she was like, all right. So she got in the car, and the dude was like, what, that's it? I said, later, bro. And then we just took off, and I could tell he didn't get her number. He got no information. I was like, he was just standing there like, and I didn't feel bad. I kind of cock blocked, but not on purpose. So now we're driving back. We stopped at Waffle House. I had to get something to eat. And all of a sudden I'm driving. She had to drive because I was too tipsy. And then my boy was a little tipsy too. So she's driving, and I look over, and my boy's like rubbing her shoulders. And I was going, what the fuck? I was like, is every guy hollering at you tonight? So I don't pay them no mind. I'm just like, if they want to do something, they're going to do something. It ain't none of my business. So then we get back to my place. So I had a 3-bedroom apartment at the time. And my boy was sleeping in 1 bedroom. Obviously, I got my bedroom. The other bedroom didn't have a bed in it. And so she couldn't drive back to Indy. She goes, I got to crash. I said, all right, you can sleep. I don't know where you're going to sleep. She goes, I'm just going to sleep in your room. I was like, all right. We didn't have really no other room unless you want to sleep on the couch. And I'm so tipsy, I'm not even thinking, I should probably sleep on the couch. I'm ready to go to bed. So I laid down. I remember we put pillows in between us, like bing, bing, bing. And I looked over and I said, you're the first white girl I slept with. And honestly, we did, on my kid's life, on everything, we just went to sleep. Absolutely nothing happened. I heard Ray J was telling on his dick. This is the opposite. There's some dudes who are like, what? You had a badass white chick in your bed, did nothing? Nothing. This is my homie. This is my friend. We're just strictly platonic. That's why when Steve Harvey says men can't have platonic friends with the opposite sex, I'm like, yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. I got a couple. Shout out to Chantel. That's not the white girl. This is my other friend that's black, that we're just platonic. But anyways, I just noticed when we were sleeping, and we're kind of laughing and I don't know, just cutting up. And then I see my boy, he's outside my door. And I'm like, why? I can see his feet outside the door. I go, why is he at my door? And then I think he's trying to listen. I goes, is he trying to listen and see if we're doing anything? I was like, it was just weird. His feet was right there. I go, I'm sure he thought it was popping off. I'm sure he thought he had the magic hands on the shoulders, but that's not on me. She wasn't interested. So wake up the next day. We were still laughing about, she got out of there early too. She had to get back to Indy. So, that's it. I leave Cincy the day after that. I left Cincy that Tuesday. Why did she call me Wednesday? And she was like, where you at? And I don't know, I was heading to my next gig or something. She goes, you're not going to believe this. I said, what? She goes, I left my red bottoms at your apartment. I said, shut up. She left those red bottom heels in the box, even though it was like a Nike box. She left them. And I went, you're bullshitting. I had to fly back to Cincinnati just to grab those shoes. and get him out of there. Because here's the thing. If my ex-wife would have got back to the apartment before me, because we had the place in California, we had the place in Ohio at the same time. If I wasn't planning on going back to Ohio, but if she would have came back and saw those red bottoms, and she would have had every right to be upset. Okay, let me ask you this. What woman is going to believe, no, nothing happened? No, we just slept in the bed and put pillows between us. Nothing happened, but nothing happened. But she wouldn't believe that. I wouldn't have believed it. I had to fly back. Literally, I flew back, got off the plane, went to my apartment, and when I walked in, that Nike box was sitting there on the ottoman, like, hello, welcome back. Yeah, fuck around and find out. I was like, I opened the box, big old red bottom sitting there. I had to mail them off to her. I go, thanks. Wasn't planning on that trip. I think I was like in Denver. So I had to fly from Denver to Cincy, pick up the box, right back on the plane to wherever I was going. It was, I can tell the story now because nothing happened, but man, if my ex would have got back before those shoes, I got rid of those shoes. I was like, you gotta be shitting me. I couldn't believe. Oh, God bless. God bless. It's funny how those type of stories just rush back when somebody passes away. Like, how the hell does Ananda Lewis pass away? And then I started thinking of what Dave said, how we got to start showing up for people, and we're getting to the age where people pass away. Then I started thinking of the Chappelle story about that, and I was just like, yeah. I'm at that age, though, man.